Okay. I have a facility right now for sale. And I'm partnering on the deal. And I partnered with the student, and the student has to sell because he's got something going on. And so it's like 40% full. He just bought it last year, like 6 months ago, and he had something happen. And it's like 40% full. And, so he wants to sell it for like 400 grand. And the property you cannot get a loan on because it's 40% full, right? But when you fill this thing up, it'll be worth $1 million plus. So you'll be able to double, if not triple, the value of the property just by filling it up. But because it's only like 40% full, nobody is going to fund this thing. Nobody's going to, like, no lender is going to fund it. So you have to raise the money, so then that's like, you could basically buy that thing and just fill it up and then sell it and make 500 grand on it. Right. And so, like, those types of deals require this private money. Okay. And so you got to get really good, just ask people for money. Owner financing, syndicating, private money. And then you could do, so private money also includes like partnering, right? Right. I just got an email last week, because basically, like, if you're in my private money lender campaign that I have, and you can go to my website, stacyrossetti.com, and click on investors, and there's 2 different campaigns. One campaign is the private money, where you want to lend me money. And then the other one is like invest in my fund. But so on my private money lender campaign, there's like an email that goes out after a couple of weeks, and it says, hey, look, I know you've got money because you've opted into getting these emails. I have, 100 students that are looking for storage facilities to buy, and they come across amazing deals all the time, but sometimes these students can't afford those deals. Maybe they have 100 grand and they need 200 grand down to buy it or whatever. Would you be interested in partnering with one of my students, right? And working with my student? I'll be in the deal too. Obviously, I would be in the deal, and then my students would be in the deal as well too. And then we could all just partner together and do a deal. And so that's happened, several times. But that is one way that you could find somebody else to work with and partner to do the deal. And even if you don't have the money, you could be the boots on the ground person. So, for instance, I have a student, his name's Luther, he actually works for me as well. And he has like no money. He's like 22 years old. And he has like hardly any money. And he basically, what he does is he tells everybody, look, I will be the boots on the ground person. And if you can bring the money, I will manage the facility. And being a boots on the ground person is worth something. There's a value there. If it's 10, 20, 30% of the deal, there's a value there depending on how big it is and stuff. And so then you could get your feet into, deals. Like, so for instance, I could always do that for either one of these deals. Say, look, I need a boots on the ground person to just manage this deal. Would you be interested in doing that? And so you could do that as well. So owner financing, syndicating, right? Syndicating, private money, partnering. And then also we do create like other creative deal structures. Creative deal structures. And okay. And so other creative deal structures include wraparound mortgages and what's called contract for deed, and also subject tos. Okay. So these are, I know people are like, what are these, right? Does anybody know what any of those are? Subject to, wraparound mortgage, or contract for deed. I'm going to write those down here. Subject to and wraparound mortgage, right? And create, right? And then a contract for deed. And create, right? Okay. All right. Well, these are some other ways. So right now I have a student inside the coaching program, and he's actually doing a subject to. So he found a property where the owner was like really struggling to make the payments. And so he said, look, why don't I just like start making your payments for you? And the owner was like, you know what? Wow, that's a good idea. And so they're working out a deal right now where there's an exchange of the deed, right? And then once they exchange the deed, the student will make the payments directly to the mortgage company, right? And then just pay the mortgage is what it is. So the mortgage company and his mortgage is like, and the reason why they decided to do that instead of just buying it, because his mortgage is like 3% interest. It's like he bought that facility at the worst of times, right? When everything was 3%, everybody thinks that was the best of times, but like the worst time. So anyways, so at 3% interest, he bought it. He's really struggling to make those payments. So the student is going to come in and start making those payments, and then that's basically a subject to. So I'm buying that property subject to what the loan is, what the mortgage is. Okay. And then we have another student right now that just closed on a property that's a contract for deed, right? So what that means is that there is already a mortgage on the property, and they're going to exchange the deed and keep the mortgage on the property. But then they're going to write a contract up. Look, the owner is still going to make those payments. The owner is still going to, take care of the loan, and he's going to make more money because I think the loan was like maybe $600 or $700 a month, and he was going to get like, $900 or $1,000 a month. So he's going to make a little bit more money, right, for handing over the deed to the property and keeping that loan in place. Okay, so it's called contract for deed. And then a wraparound mortgage is exactly what it sounds. It's like essentially there's already a mortgage on the property. All right, so why don't you allow me to make another mortgage with you? You pay your mortgage and I'll pay you my mortgage as well. Okay, so all kinds of stuff. So we have students that are doing these as well. And during downturns, you hear more and more about properties that are done this way. Now, typically you do these, you can't go on Craigslist. And you can't be like, okay, let me go talk to the realtor. Let me make an offer for the subject too, because the realtor's gonna be like, what? So this is something where you find an owner, right? You talk to the owner directly, and the owner says, like, I'd be open. Like what I always tell my students to say is like, look, the banks are crazy right now. The mortgages are crazy. Like, in order for us to do this deal, would you be open to doing something creative, like some sort of creative deal structure? Would you be open to that? And they'll say like, yes, sure. Like, what do you mean? Or what are you talking about? And then you can get into like, look, you can either seller finance this to me. If you're free and clear on this property, seller finance it to me. If you're not free and clear, then let's talk about your mortgage. What does your mortgage look like? Should we do a subject to? Should we do a wraparound mortgage? What does your mortgage look like? If your mortgage is like, 10% interest and it's like a hard money loan, then we're not going to do a wraparound mortgage on that, right? But if it's like 3% interest, or something like this, maybe we could do a subject to or something. So that's basically kind of how we are with this. All right. And I'm telling you, that's exactly what I do when we talk to owners. This is exactly the same thing that I'm telling you is exactly what I tell my owners.